Alright, so this is my first try at a video like this, and I thought it could be kind of cool to just go on, bring a trailer or cars and bids and take a look at interesting cars I'm familiar with and talk about them. Maybe talk about what I might do to them if I owned them, or what I might do for a customer of mine who wanted to either buy one or list one. And if they bought one, they wanted to return it to stock, for example, or to build it in a way that they would want to get the most value out of it, for example. Um, some ideas there. So, in doing so, let's take a look at this 22B. I think this is kind of cool. Um, this auction actually doesn't have too much time left. 5 days. We got 10 bids, 100 grand right now. This is an interesting car because it's not perfect. You know, a lot of the 22Bs that have passed across the auction block in the last few months or last couple years have commanded up to like almost 200 grand, some more, and they've been, at least to the viewer's eye on the screen, they've been nearly perfect cars. This one is not. It's got some modifications. You can tell right off the bat here that this grill, I can see some overspray here on the grill behind it. I can see a couple other things quickly also. Obviously the wheels, while they're nice, these are Speedline 6 spokes. These are not the original wheels. I think they're still totally appropriate. Let's have a look inside. So, car's well used. You can see the way the person's holding the shifter. There's some paint missing from the shifter stock. It has what looks to be a Pro Drive 5-speed knob. Of course, this car is a 5-speed, as we all know. So many people know really weird facts about this car. As we scroll through here, a lot of people think this car was a homologation car. That's wrong. It's not. Group A homologation ended in 97, and the 22B is in 1998. So this is not a homologation car. This was a car to sort of celebrate Subaru's new WRC and the introduction of WRC rules, which started in 98. We see single bar roll cage. It's really hard to tell what brand this cage is with this padding on there. It doesn't look compliant to anything. So it probably would be fine for just doing track days. It would give you a little more safety, but no one would allow you to use this in a hill climb or for road racing. I think that's a Lail dead pedal in there, which is cool. I like all these mods, honestly. I don't think this is a bad car. I think it's kind of actually better because it's almost a driver. Fire bottle bracket down there. That's kind of cool. These 22B were based off a version 4 coupe. So Subaru would pull a version 4 coupe from the production line and bring it to Ota, Japan, that was where the production was for the 22B. Here's an interesting one. Up here, I haven't looked at the auction sheet or anything yet. This antenna bracket, Subarus have antennas in 2 places. One, of GCs, I should say, left rear quarter, and this A-pillar. This bracket cracks a lot. People have to replace it because it gets sun damage to plastic. This one's painted blue. It's not supposed to be blue. It's supposed to be black. You can see there. So they didn't remove it when they painted the car. You can see the gasket's blue too. To me, that would say a couple things. That would say probably this accident happened a long time ago before this car was worth a lot of money. This is sort of how you would probably just paint any old Subaru. But you wouldn't paint a $200,000 car this way. Also, it really begs a question about why the A-pillar needed paint. That's a weird area to need paint. Perhaps the whole car needed paint, but most of the 22B we've seen have not been repainted. Let's see what else. Another thing about the 22B, we got some cables hanging down there. Sort of hard to see what's going on. I would guess it's for a logger or something. It might have an ECU in it. The ECU on these cars is right down here by the passenger foot well. I was just going to say some cool 22B trivia, that the 22B nomenclature is often regarded or often considered because it had a 2.2 liter. It was based off the legacy closed deck block. Everybody knows about this. B is for Bilstein. It came with Bilstein suspension, which was very cool. The weird thing also, and like you would think this is impossible to plan, but if you convert hexadecimal to decimal, 22B translates to 555, which of course was the British cigarette manufacturer sponsoring Subaru. So to plan that or to figure that out is just, it's a marketing coup if that's what they actually did. Rear seats look good. You know, not many passengers riding in the back of these things. The cage is nice. It has some good headroom for the passenger. That you could still put someone back there. If they were tall, they'd probably be rubbing their collarbone on there. We get some service records. This is kind of a cheesy way to account for records, in my opinion. I wouldn't stick them to a car of this value. But again, that just shows us as a driver. Maybe that's cool. Steering wheel, it's fine. I mean, it's obviously not original. It's been replaced. There's an extension in there, which I think is also fine. DCCD gauge on the cluster. This car is a 5-speed. I read somewhere once that this car, it's weird, this picture was taken at speed, like while they were driving. Oh, looks like a passenger took it. I read that these cars sold only online, which, if that's true, that's super weird for 1998, and they sold out almost immediately. I can't imagine Subaru deciding to sell on the internet in 98, but maybe that happened. Someone can truth check that. All this sort of looks fine. We're not seeing anything weird. Aftermarket, whole bunch of aftermarket stuff here. Kenwood, but at least it's correct. It's like the right brand for the car. Subaru and Kenwood have gone together for a long time. I think that's some factory option handbrake cover. Again, all this stuff's pretty standard. Let's get ahead here. Enough interior shots. I actually think the 22B front seats are kind of lame for what they are. Like Spec C's later on got such nice seats. In 22B, like they're like basic WRX seats. Here we go. We're getting into the meat of it now. Love this look. Love this color. The front end's so round and pretty. That manifold's been repainted for sure. This looks like Colt Speed or Boz Speed intake here. These are pretty nice. They're well regarded. Performance-wise, it probably doesn't do anything. This carbon strut brace came on pretty much every car from version 1 on. No big changes. Intercooler fins look pretty hammered. These are hard to find. You could probably spend like $2 or $3 grand and find a new one somewhere. Aluminum damper crank pulley. So here's the thing about this car. This is when things start getting a little sketch. This isn't something that you would probably replace for no reason. And I think also you're supposed to have a harmonic damper on the crankshaft because it's good for the bearings. It's fine for racing to not have one, but if you're doing a lot of mileage, I would definitely have one on the car. This car was definitely in a front end hit. The reason I say that is because the hood's replaced. I think later we're going to see an auction sheet that reveals it also. I suspect that when it was in that front end hit, that it also crashed the timing belt. And it probably broke the crank pulley, which is why that one's on there. Because it's kind of a weird mod to do for no reason. Something looks weird here. That looks weird. We're not going to get the angle on it. Obviously this has been resprayed too because the bolt has like paint on part of it and not all of it. This looks like a gap that I don't think we see at the other side. And this is how you have to look at these used cars. Yeah. So, I don't know. Something's different there. you have to be very careful about. There is a gap, but that looks weird. The filler's not painted and the filler's painted on the other side. Moving on. At least it's got a battery tie down. Most most used cars just don't have them for some reason. I have no idea. It's like the cheapest thing you can do. Here we go. So Zero Sports panel, cooling panel they call it. The first thing that catches my eye here is that the hood liner is wrong because the hood is wrong. So this is some kind of composite hood that's been painted, which kudos to them for actually painting it. I don't know who makes this hood. I'm not really familiar with all these aftermarket hoods, but these grill blank outs are obviously giant, and that is not how the normal hood looks. We have some epoxy and fiber showing here. There's an emissions sticker here that's missing. So the hood was smashed. And why they didn't buy it just an OEM hood is completely beyond me, because they're available. Yeah, you can see the twill here. They're available and it would have been way better. Would have added to the value. So tubular manifold, I think that's cool. It's 4-to-1. I'm trying to tell who might have made it. I can't really tell. Whatever, fine. I would actually probably coat that. We'll go through some things I'd probably do to the car if it were mine or if it were a client of mine's. Underside looks good. We don't have any like blasting of black paint. We don't have any rust. Looks nice. This, something's funny here. This looks super new. That's a frame rail. So front left frame rail could have been repaired. Trying to figure that out right now. Engine's obviously very clean. Everything's clean. I mean, I would still buy this car. Engine mounts look almost new. It's a good looking car. So 5-speed transmission. These are the Bilsteins you can see underneath. These are upside down. The same way the Group N and Group A shocks were of the time. The damper's upside down for stiffness. And it bolts in from the bottom. It's a nice setup. These calipers look like extra crusty, which is funny because none of the other stuff looks really crusty. Something's going on here. There's some crust and there's like a lot of extra spray in there. This is how you have to really scrutinize these cars. The back looks perfect. So here we have also, when you buy a car with a bolt-in cage, this is what you get. Some bolt-in cages that are motorsport oriented, they have a plate that you weld into the car. So you actually have to still weld a plate, and then you bolt the cage to that welded plate. For like a clubman or an old car built to old rules, you can just bolt right through the floor like this, and this looks fine. Personally, I would take the plates off, clean everything up, put some RTV there to seal it off, because you're going to trap water and sand and stuff in there. It's going to damage it. Bolt-in cages don't really turn me off unless they're those dash dodger ones. That's a nice feature. The metal's kinked there to fit the floor profile. Those dash dodger cages don't do anything, and then you have holes in their floor. So I don't usually recommend those. So I guess we can pull up a little bit. This all looks good. Let's see this. I saw a damage thing here. So problem found. A recall, an accident, and repair. Damage reported. Oh man, what a time to live in. Radioactive contamination test. So this car did about 5,000 miles in a year. So it got used. Performance evaluation, model code. Not much to see here. We're not going to get a lot. Okay, here's the auction sheet. This is actually nice, and this is a thing that buyers are getting really hip to. being able to ask and see the auction sheet. Obviously, this is an R grade, which I think is a very fair evaluation. That signifies that it's been in an accident. 22, that's cubic centimeters for the engine. So this shows, this indicates where the damage was. We have a new hood, new front fenders. I can't really see what's going on there. I mean, if the hood's been replaced, the bumper's been replaced, so we can assume that. Any accident that ruins the front fenders, I guarantee in a Subaru, crashed the timing belt. So that engine came out, it crashed the valves were replaced, the timing belt cover was replaced, probably the cam gears, hopefully, and everything else back there. Because if you're pushing it in that far and the engine's running, it's very likely the engine's been damaged before. But again, easy fix. All right, so what would I pay for this car? Someone probably got this car for 100, maybe less than 100. They're probably hoping to get over 150 for it. I think 150 would be a good way to get into this car and a good way to get into a 22B. And there's nothing on this car that can't be fixed. If this were a customer of mine, I would take the whole front end off. I would take the fenders off and just get a ground truth about where things are. It could be hiding some secrets, but nothing terrible. I would get those BBS wheels back on there, even though I like these a lot. Those are just so special. The offset actually doesn't look quite right on these, so I'd probably swap those. The bumper brackets and the other stuff that are supposed to be black and that they're blue, I would fix that. It's very easy. I'm sure those parts are still available. The hood would be swapped out immediately, and maybe some of the interior restored. Basically, I try to restore it to stock, and I think that that could probably be done for under $5,000 of parts. Not including the wheels. If I were to list this car, so this is what I'll do at the end of these. I'll talk about what I would do if the buyer brought it to me and said, make this thing right. And then I would say, I'll talk about also what I would do if I were going to list this car on Bring a Trailer to try to maximize return. This hood is a no-brainer. Get this thing off of here, put a regular hood on it. The thing actually looks fine, but hood's $1,000. Put a hood on it. It's an expensive car. I would have put the interior back too. You can get a steering wheel for this. Put the right wheel in it. That's about it, because I think the value of this car is that it is a driver. I think that's really cool. And I wouldn't make it perfect. I would make it approachable and try to keep it on the low end of the 22B cost. That's it. Let me know if you like these. I'll do them more. I think it'll be fun. Thanks for watching.